Lesson 6 for January 30 to February 5, Playing God, and read by Dr. Percy Harold. Wednesday, February 3, Heaven's Gate. In Isaiah chapter 14, a taunt against Satan, the fallen, day star, in the King James Version it's called Lucifer, and son of dawn in the New Revised Standard Version. Let's just read it in the New King James Version. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations. This is blended into a taunt against the king of Babylon. Why? Well, let's compare Revelation 12, 1-9. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then, being with child, she cried out in labour and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven, behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Here, a dragon identified as Satan in verse 9 tries to destroy a child as soon as it is born. In Revelation 12 verse 5, the child clearly is Christ. But it was King Herod who tried to kill Jesus as a young child, as we read in Matthew chapter 2. The dragon is both Satan and the Roman power represented by Herod, because Satan works through human agents. Similarly, Satan was the power behind the king of Babylon and the prince of Tyre. Question: why does Babylon later refer to Rome in 1 Peter 5 and verse 13? She who is in Babylon, elect together with you, greets you, and so does Mark, my son. And to an evil power in the book of Revelation, as we read in the following verses. Revelation 14, verse 8, and another angel followed, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Revelation 16:19, now the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon was remembered before God, to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Revelation 17, verse 5, and on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, and of the abominations of the earth. And Revelation 18, verse 2, and he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. And verse 10, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city of Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. And verse 21, then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and threw it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence the great city Babylon shall be thrown down, and shall not be found any more. Like literal Babylon, Rome and the Babylon of Revelation are proud, ruthless powers that oppress God's people. See especially Revelation 17:6, which reads, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I marvelled with great amazement. For it is drunk with the blood of the saints. They rebel against God, an idea implied in the name Babylon itself. In the Babylonian language, the name is Bab-Eli, that's B-A-B, another word, I-L-I, which means the gate of gods, referring to the place of access to the divine realm. Compare Genesis 11, where people built the Tower of Babel, Babylon, so that by their own power they could rise to the divine level of immunity from any accountability to God. When Jacob awoke from a dream in which he saw a ladder connecting heaven and earth, he exclaimed in Genesis 28:17, "This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Notice that the house of God is the gate of heaven, that is, the way of access to the divine realm. Jacob named the place Bethel, which means house of God. The gate of heaven at Bethel and the gate of gods at Babylon were opposite ways to reach the divine realm. Jacob's ladder originated in heaven, revealed from above by God, but Babylon, with its towers and ziggurat temples, was built by human beings from the ground up. These opposite ways represent contrasting paths to salvation, divinely initiated grace versus human works. All true religion is based on the humble Bethel model. For by grace you have been saved through faith. Let's read that in Ephesians 2, verses 8 and 9. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. All false religion, including legalism and secular humanism, is based on the proud Babylonian model. For the contrast between the two approaches, see Jesus' parable of the Pharisee and the publican in Luke 18:9-14. Also he spoke this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank you that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this tax collector. I fast twice a week, I give tithes of all that I possess. And the tax collector, standing afar off, would not so much as raise his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. So, to finish today, even after spending a few years in a Zen monastery, Canadian songwriter Leonard Cohen told an interviewer, I'm not saved. In the context of today's study, what do you think his problem was? What did he need to know about salvation?
Hi there. Thanks for watching this video on the Advent Band Ministries YouTube channel. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to be alerted whenever we upload new videos. So, until we meet him in the clouds, may God continue to bless you.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.